Irish guy, and I'm sorry, but did I read that right? Let me know if I've got this wrong. Chelsea have decided to sack a Champions League winning coach, someone who recently competed in back-to-back European finals, and right now are begging Brighton and Hove Albion for their boss. I mean, this can't be true. I mean, this guy was already in West London last week. Yeah, when losing to Fulham. Why would you get rid of Double T for Potter? No, it'd be like Tyson Fury deciding to smash up his Ferrari with a golf club and then just begging me for my bicycle. Graham Potter will fail as Chelsea manager, and it will not be pretty. He is going to be worse for them than David Moyes at Old Trafford. Listen, I will touch on Potter to Chelsea in the second half of the video, but...
Prediction: Thomas Tuchel will be sacked before Halloween.
I'm a genius. A complete and utter genius. Honestly, everyone in the chat, please tell me that I've got a brain bigger than a spaceship. And also, hit that subscribe button. I mean, if that correct prediction isn't worth a subscribe, I don't know what is. I mean, just tell me now that I'm like the Matrix Oracle. Without looking like I spend 3 hours a day gorging on pies. But yes, lads, this was January 2022, when the club were reigning world champions and second in the Premier League. And then, the length of a pregnancy later, and the German is right now unemployed, watching The Simpsons on his beanbag in a sad and lonely empty London flat. Honestly, right now, he's probably just lonely swiping Tinder on his phone. I mean, in the space of 6 months, this man has not only lost his job, but also has had to file for divorce. I mean, in all seriousness, does somebody want to maybe pop over to his flat and check he's okay? I mean, to have lost a multi-million-pound job and his wife of 13 years, I mean, is he now just curfing out in a midlife crisis? I mean, is he now going to be begging Aubameyang to give him his Ferrari? Are Londoners now going to be walking over him in the street as he's lying in the sewer with a Letterman-esque beard whilst drinking sour milk and tins of cat food? Poor Tommy! I mean, I would imagine that right now Antonio Conte is cackling like a Himalayan banshee.
Oh, grab my hand, will you? Well, how about you grab this ratio?
Oh, well, nah, that would only be if these managers spoke like 12-year-old boys on Twitter. But listen, things were not right at Chelsea. I mean, their away form this season has been putrid. Losing at Leeds, Southampton and Dynamo Zagreb. Sure, it's a form guide that would make most Chelsea fans vomit all over the floor. But I don't think Chelsea ever showed Tuchel any respect. And considering there's been 2 different owners in charge, that is pretty damning. I mean, both owners either gave him too much involvement in transfers, or clearly not enough. Because it's pretty clear that Tuchel is a modern manager who just wants to coach. I mean, when the performance advisor Petacek was sacked for, again, I don't know. Again, maybe something happened behind closed doors. Maybe he'd been caught stealing pandas from the zoo. I have no idea, but the point is that he left, and then Tuchel was forced to buy the players himself. I mean, he doesn't want that, lads. What in France? This was a man who was gift-wrapped presents like Kylian Mbappe. I mean, if that had been up to him, he would have probably just demanded that Nasser El Khelaifi bring Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to France instead. And I'm sorry, but having 2 superficial airheads like he and Neymar in the same dressing room, oh, they'd have probably wound up fighting every day because the other one copied the colour of his purse. But Tuchel, he does not want to have to go out and do the shopping himself. A bit like I'd imagine in the same way a cold, rich billionaire Elon Musk probably just pays the nanny to buy his kids their Christmas presents. And if he had to do that himself, he would probably walk into a toy shop, realise he doesn't know his kids, and probably just wind up having a fit on the floor. Just sensory overload. And Tuchel clearly also has sensory overload because his targets didn't make sense. I mean, Raheem Sterling for £50 million was a great deal, yes. But choosing to give Leicester City a £75 million paycheck for a defender, I mean, yeah. Ask Man United what they think of their bumbling Teletubby. And at the same time, Tuchel trusts Ben Chilwell the same way you would trust a wolf to share a toddler's cot. So you think maybe, just maybe, don't buy from Leicester again? In the same way you don't continue to go back to the same Chinese food takeaway who are responsible for that vomit stain on your carpet. I mean, the club have also targeted youth players for the future like Gabriel Salida and Carney Chukwuemeka. I mean, was that Tuchel's input? Really? Did he think he's gonna survive long enough to see them play? You know, a bit like any of you, if you're on a second date with a human woman and you realise it's not going well, you don't exactly whip up Argos on your phone and offer to help her pick up furniture. No! And the fate of Armando Broja was laughable. All summer long, Chelsea were unsure whether or not to sell. And yet, after 40 minutes of Premier League football this season, they give him a 6-year deal. And the previous summer, clearly not one person at Stamford Bridge consulted Tuchel over Romelu Lukaku. I mean, I get it, okay? Tuchel doesn't want to have to make the signings. But if he's going to cost 100 million quid, maybe then ask the manager for advice. And then they chose this summer to get rid of the Belgian purely to appease Tuchel. And then you sack him anyway? Which is a bit like surprising your wife with a £10,000 puppy, only to realise that actually she's got a phobia of dogs. So fine, I mean, you love the expensive Tibetan Mastiff, but then you choose to give it away, only for 6 weeks later, you end up divorcing your wife anyway. What? Tuchel did not want the power of transfer decision making. I think we can all see that when the club were prepared to pay 60 million quid for Anthony Gordon. I think we all knew something was wrong. I mean, somewhere at Stamford Bridge was very, very confused. I mean, it's like they just saw Manchester United buy Anthony and so just wanted to copy them. Even if this one is just a scruffy Ron Weasley with the end product of a burnt birthday cake. I mean, you know, the type of stiff cake that forces you to spend the next 7 hours pooing out a milky rock. Yeah. Thanks, Mum! And apparently Tuchel was sick of having to explain to Bowley in baby words why a move for Cristiano Ronaldo did not make sense. Again, I can imagine that was so annoying. A bit like having to explain to your mother that, no, you don't want to go to the prom with Matilda from next door, because not only does she have a face that looks like a gardener's foot, but also because she's your second cousin. And apparently the club made a deadline day £50 million move for Southampton's Romeo Lavia, just because he scored against the club. And even more embarrassingly, it was just 6 weeks after he left Man City for a fifth of the fee. I mean, what a mess! It's like walking past a burger stand every day and you never buy one, but oh, as soon as your sister buys a sausage roll, I mean, she takes one bite out of it and oh, suddenly you're offering her 40 quid for the rest. Clearly you've got the financial brains of a meatloaf sandwich. I mean, Chelsea even offered a world record transfer fee on deadline day to PSG for someone called Grace. Okay, hang on. That's the women's football. Right, let's see.
Chelsea have had a world record bid over £425,000 for France midfielder Grace Galloro, rejected by Paris Saint-Germain.
Sorry, world record bid, £425,000. What? Andres Iniesta is nearly 40 and he pockets that much every week in Japan. And that's a world record. What? But listen, Tuchel, he's won you the Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, FIFA Club World Cup, reached 2 FA Cup finals and a League Cup final. He's crammed all of that into just a little over a year and a half in the job. I mean, to be fair, okay, yes, he was given an unsure 18-month contract in 2021, and he lasted 20 months, but I mean, the 2-year extension he signed last year, clearly that might as well have been signed on toilet paper because it clearly didn't mean a thing. Tuchel is a man who stuck with the club through the rocky sanctions period where so many troublemakers in the media were tipping him to just ditch Chelsea like a bag filled with cat poo and instead to go and join Manchester United. And lads, maybe that's exactly what he should have done. Maybe Tommy should have had his agent ring up the Glazer family and now he'd have the biggest job in the country instead of, in reality, just being another footnote in Chelsea's sack history. Honestly, what's he gonna do with his days now? Just spend the next few months watching a box set of Mr. Bean and Father Ted whilst crying into a sock? I am fascinated now though. What is his next job going to be? I mean, will it be in the Premier League? Lads, of every Chelsea manager sacked since 2004, these were their next immediate jobs. So maybe this will give us some sort of clue as to what the standard of his next club will be. Valencia, Inter Milan, Portsmouth, PSG, Tottenham, Schalke 04, Napoli, Manchester United, Inter Milan again, Juventus, and Everton. I think he'll be okay. If I had to guess, I think his defensive gameplay is perfectly suited for Serie A. So yeah, why not? I think he's gonna take the rest of the season off, but next summer, just like Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, he is going to be the 3rd sacked Chelsea manager to get offered a job at Inter Milan. Just you watch. And obviously, as soon as he touches down at the San Siro next summer, Lukaku's loan papers will be fed to Tuchel's cat, forcing Chelsea to sell the Belgian to, I don't know, Juventus? But right. Chelsea want Graham Potter. We are about to watch a posh, private school educated guy called Tom about to be superseded by someone called Potter. Honestly, did J.K. Rowling write this plot? I get it. Tom Riddle, he's also Voldemort. You know, the bad guy who looks like if John Joe Shelby had a nose job. But honestly, Graham Potter to Chelsea makes me sick. This man is a figment of the media's imagination. Honestly, he's just like someone like Banksy. Yes, he's an English coach in his 40s who tells his players to keep the ball on the deck. Oh, whoop-de-doo. It's not as if he just invented the spoon. It's not as if without Potter, I don't know, we'd all be eating Weetabix with our face. He is the massive hipster flavour of the month. And we've seen this so many times before. Because of the complete lack of coaching talent in this country, the media always tries to spoon feed a British coach down the throats of big clubs. And it's even worse when they're English. If Brendan Rodgers had been born in Stoke, he'd be the Man United boss. But at least with Chelsea, they rarely fell for this in the past. The previous regime always tried to appoint elite managers. I mean, with the exception of Frank Lampard, but I mean, he was a club legend at Stamford Bridge, so at least there was that. But Potter, He is a former Northampton and York City left back. I mean, back when Chelsea were winning their first Premier League titles under a genuine legend like Jose Mourinho, this guy had two jobs at the time. One of them being a football development coach at the University of Hull. Oh great, so you're just teaching Alfie Potts-Harmer how to trap a ball. Although, who are we kidding, let's be fair. Both of them would have probably just been found drinking goat's milk martinis whilst reading Dostoevsky under a tree. And his other job, he was technical director for Ghana at the 2007 Women's World Cup. I mean, I'm officially going to label Ghana the most hipster African country. Because don't forget, the male FA just appointed Chris Hughton as technical advisor of the male team. You know, Potter's Brighton predecessor. And why? Just to be different, I suppose. But imagine, when Chelsea sacked Mourinho in 2007, imagine telling anyone that soon this club, a ruthless winning machine who always aimed for the best in class, would be giving the manager's job to the guy currently studying at Leeds University, who's completing a master's in leadership and emotional intelligence. It's the equivalent of me telling you that in 15 years, the Manchester City manager will just be some nerdish bookworm who's currently doing a maths degree at a school in Middlesbrough.
Oh, but he did a great job at Ostersunds as a manager!
Oh yeah? How many clubs in mainland Europe took note of that and offered him a job? He was locked away in the Swedish mountains, probably eating boiled mice for tea, and nobody ever uttered a word. Here were the rumours when he was in Sweden.
Graham Potter was considered for the Hibs job before Neil Lennon was appointed. Stoke City new manager gossip. Rising star Graham Potter interested in return to old club.
That's it. Failing to get the job at Hibernian and Stoke. And yet, apparently, that's the Chelsea boss. This guy has been offered 4 management jobs in his entire life. One was a contract in the 4th tier of Swedish football. The next was taking on a team in Wales. And then finally, a team who just finished 17th in the Premier League. And now he's been given the chance to manage the current world champions. Does nobody see this as too big of a jump? There should be a rule, okay? Chelsea should never have to appoint a manager who's been found coaching in the championship inside the last 5 years. I mean, it should be like if a company finds out that, oh, you're on the run from the police because you were caught throwing cat poo at old ladies in the street. I mean, that should unequivocally be enough grounds to put your contract in a bin. I mean, lads, Lampard was dangerously underqualified for the Chelsea job. But yeah, his Derby County team finished 9 points above Potter's Swansea 3 years ago. 2 managers who failed to win promotion to the Premier League, and yet they're both being offered the Chelsea job. Is this a joke? The 3 best managers in that division that season were Marcelo Bielsa, Chris Wilder and Thomas Frank. Not Potter. Listen, he's done well at Brighton. He's got them playing pretty stuff. And yes, 9th in the league last season was good, but it was a false position. How many other teams finished 9th after going on some of the worst winless runs in the country? From September to December last season, Brighton did not win a single match. No wins in 11. From February to March, they lost 6 games in a row, scoring once. And the previous season, look at all the winless runs then too. It was more of the same. I mean, last year, Norwich City were the league's whipping boys, right? With the self-belief of a whimpering cat. And Brighton and Hove Albion did not score a single goal past them in 180 minutes. Chelsea are appointing a manager who, as Brighton boss, has overseen 15 0-0 draws. And in his one season at Swansea, there were 4 0-0s in his first 11 games in charge. But his specialty is the 1-1 draw. He has had 24 1-1 draws as Brighton coach. That's his party piece, his big trick. He is a draw specialist. Don't be fooled by the great start this season. He has had 135 games as Brighton boss. Almost 40 of the matches were either 0-0 or 1-1. That is about a third of his games. Potter finished 9th with Brighton. Great. Steve Coppell once finished 8th with Reading. And what? I mean, I have no doubt that if Manchester United needed a manager in 2007, they'd have fallen for the hype and given him the job. I mean, don't forget, he was a former Man United winger too. But as a manager, recently, he's at the scramble for work in India. I will put on record that apart from interim coaches like Gus Hiddink, he'll have the worst win percentage of any Chelsea manager since Ruud Gullit in 1998. As we have seen these British flavours of the month come and go, and so regularly. I've seen this all before. You can't fool me again. Lads, 10 years ago, Alan Pardew just finished 5th in the Premier League with Newcastle. He won Manager of the Month and was given an 8-year deal. I mean, not only that, but don't forget, Newcastle were a recently newly promoted club from the Championship. I mean, 11-12 was supposed to be their second season syndrome, especially considering they just sold Andy Carroll for £35 million and their best defender Jose Enrique, both to Liverpool. Their net spend in 2011 was minus £33.5 million, and yet Pardew nearly got them into the Champions League. Imagine if he got the Chelsea job then. I mean, the club were looking for a new one after sacking Roberto Di Matteo. Imagine if the English media playboy was suddenly told to manage the egos of John Terry, Frank Lampard, Eden Hazard and Didier Drogba. I mean, within a few years, this man was barely able to manage the pressure at West Brom. So Chelsea, oh, those players would have eaten him alive with a fork. Potter is going to be an absolute dishwipe at Stamford Bridge. Aubameyang came to Chelsea to work with his close buddy Tommy, not take orders from a guy whose career is primarily Swedish football. I mean, Mark Cucurella wanted a fresh start at a massive club in Chelsea. Now it's back to listening to the guy with the charisma of wet lettuce. This is going to be ugly. Just go get Zidane or bring back Mourinho, but not Potter. Anyway, so what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think, alright? Let me know about Graham Potter at Chelsea. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.